Alright, so I'm going to try to record a lecture, provided my voice holds out. Um, so this is where we left off last time. I have some textures on my guys back here and on the background. I have my Angry Bird, or my camera set up so that the background moves. And eventually we get to the cave, which is where his goal is. Okay, so now the next task is that we're going to animate the Angry Bird. Now what I don't want to do is when I start animating him, I don't want to scale everything. Oops. I'm going to turn this to auto. Because if I do that, you can see that his shield and his spear shrink down too. Like, I'm fine with his hat shrinking down with his body. I think it's just how it's gonna be. I definitely don't want his pupils to shrink down, and I don't want his beak to shrink down. So I need to do a little rig on this guy. So I'm going to click on this. Actually, I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to kind of isolate the elements that I want to separate. So like shield and arrow and pupil left, pupil right, and beak top and bottom. Okay, so all of these things here I want to isolate as separate elements. Now some of these I need to be in the same spot that they're at, and some of these can be in a different spot. So like eyebrows really don't matter, they just need to be on top. So if I just set those there, they're good. Helmet obviously can be on top too. Pupil left and right, those can be on top too. So you see how the order of these ones doesn't matter so much because they just need to be on top of stuff. Okay, so it doesn't matter if pupil right is on top of pupil left or vice versa. And then shield obviously needs to be on top. Eye line right needs to be on top. Eye socket needs to be below these. The beak needs to be below the shield, but still on top of stuff. And then the arrow needs to just be behind stuff. Okay, so if we look at this, I basically have the body and these areas here. If I were just to move those, oops, yeah, I can take those. Okay, so these areas here are ones that are all kind of grouped together that I would like to be able to animate separately. Okay, basically I just want to be able to squish all of these down together. So what I'm going to do is I can pre-compose these because I don't believe I'm ever going to move any of these. Let me just double check. Yeah, I may want to squish the eyes down a little bit too. Okay, so one thing I could do is pre-compose all these together, and then it puts them into a group. I'm going to make a new null though and do it this way. Okay, so this will be, if I hit the enter key, this will be my body squish. So I want to be able to squish the body down. So on the body squish, I'm going to just take all of these things here and go to the body squish here. I'm just going to put this down here like that. Okay, this is basically just right at the bottom of my character. And I'm just going to take all of these and just parent them right to that. So I'm just going to make sure I'm on my parent and take all these to body squish. Okay, so now what should happen is if I go here and hit scale, I turn that constraint off, I can squish all those things down together. Okay, and you can see how it squishes from the bottom. Okay, now you'll see that all the other stuff doesn't move with it. So I probably want to get the helmet in there too. Where'd the helmet go? It's way up here. There we go. And this needs to be on top of the body. Yep, that should be good there. I just like to keep everything together. There we go. Okay, so that works like that. Now I don't want to squish like the pupils, because then it's going to look weird having the pupils get like shrunk. You can see how they're not round anymore, and the same thing with the beak. So these items I'll actually animate separately as far as that goes. So what I want to do is I want to be able to control this feature here, and I also want to be able to move all these other ones into certain spots. So I'm going to look at this just to see what kind of controls I'd want. So for like the eyebrow right, you know, is that sufficient, or do I need position 2? You know, I'd probably need position. In this instance, I don't think I would ever rotate it that way. I think he's just going to be very determined in what he does. Okay, you don't have to go into as crazy as what I'm going to do, but I just want you to see what I'm doing so that you get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to close some of these comps here because there's too many comps open. And there we go. So I'm going to make a, go back to this comp. I'm going to make a new null here. And I'm going to place it like the bottom of him. And I'm going to put some controls on here. And I'm going to say expression. Oh, brain work. Slider control. I have one called squish down. I'll duplicate it. Squish up. And the concept is that, oops, not up. Okay, so squish down, squish out. The concept is I want to be able to, there you go. I want to be able to control this Angry Bird squishing from inside here. Because it's pre-composed, if I did this, it's just going to mess it up. So I'm going to go into this thing. I'm going to click the lock. I'm going to jump back to this one. And then on this body squish, I'm just going to click on scale. And I want to alt-click this. Okay. And I'm just going to make this bigger so I can see it more. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this up to here. And you'll see that it writes an expression for this whole thing. And it says temp equals this, which is basically this slider here. And then it assigns it to both of these values. I just want to do 1. So I'm going to say squish down, just SD is equal to that. And then this one here, and I'm just going to put S out equals that, and then SD, oops, SO, SD. Alright, let me put a semicolon here, and there. And just so you can see this better, make that bigger, and take my margins off. There we go. All right, so I'm taking the squish down and making it equal to that controller. I'm taking the squish out, SO, making it equal to that controller. And then I'm assigning the SO to the X value of the scale and the SD to the Y scale. Now if I jump back to here, you'll see he's gone. That's no problem. I just need to make sure this is 100, and that's 100, and he's back to normal. So now on this screen, I can shrink him down or push him up. Okay. See, I still have the eyes connected there. I need to get rid of that. None. There we go. All right. So now what I need to do is add other controllers to this because I need to have more stuff that I can control from within this composition. I want to be able to control these items. So all the things that I want to move, like eyebrow right and left, I need to make sure I have those things in there. So if I go to my expression control, you'll see there's a 3D point control, there's an angle control, point control, and if I add a, I need to jump back to here, make sure I'm clicked on this, make sure this is unlocked. There it goes. We got locked. Oh, and After Effects apps. Alright, so I redid that real quick. So now I just need to make some more controllers for this to control other stuff. So inside my expression control, there's a point control, which is like 2 numbers. So I even could have used this for here because they're using 2 numbers there. So I'm just going to jump back to this. And you'll see I need one for the shield, one for the I need one for the beak's movement. So like it's not going to move like this, obviously. That looks weird like that. So I need to move the pivot while I'm here. Just put the pivot back here. Same thing for the bottom. The bottoms there, good. Okay. So now we have those controls. I need one to control the movement of each, or together, right? So if I ever move these, I'll move them together, but I still want to rotate them. Okay, so you want to break this down into different pieces that are going to be applicable to the movement. So I know I need one for the shield. I'm going to need a movement for the beaks and then a rotation for each beak. So I can just jump back here, and then I'll say shield shield. That's all I need. I can duplicate this and just call this beaks. I go back to my expression control. So it's an angle control too. It's for rotating it. So upper beak and then lower beak. Okay, so I hit the lock. Go back to this. I go to shield's position. I alt click. I drag this up to shield. There we go. Now it's going to go crazy if I hit enter because it's going to jump to whatever value this is, 50/50. So 1073, 742. There we go. So now he's back to where he was. Same thing with the beak top and bottom. Both of these are going to have the same position. This one's going to be a little bit trickier because they're already kind of offset. So what I'm going to do is actually just make a new null. Because they're both the same, because I want them to move together, I'm going to make a new null right here. I'll put that over there. I'll call it beak null, and I will control the position of that one. So 1162 by 634. Oops. Click that. 2 beaks. 1162, 634. So I need to make sure that the beaks. There we go. And then I'll make sure that the beaks here are parented to the beak null. That way they move with it. And then for the beak rotations, okay, I'm going to alt click there. And then this is upper beak angle. Alt click the lower beak angle. Okay, so I'm going to save this again so it doesn't crash, or hopes it doesn't crash. So now what I should be able to do is, I haven't done everything yet, but I should be able to, from this one controller, squish the guy down, and then while he's squishing down, I should be able to move beaks down, like that, and then I should be able to move the shield down, or up, depending on how I want to modify it, and then I should be able to also control the beak's rotation. Okay, all from this one controller. So that's the goal of this. Okay, So I'm just going to go through and do the rest of these that I need controls also. So brow right, brow left. Again, I could separate them if I wanted to, but I think in some instances I may want to raise the one brow over the other one. And I'm going to avoid just the rotation stuff too. Or maybe just have the rotation but not have the position. And I may want to put my pivot in different spots and see what the results are. Like if I do that, it looks kind of better than having it rotate from the center. So I'm just going to move the pivot out here for these, and I'll just control their rotation. And I even think, yeah, they're kind of opposite. That's not a big deal. I even think I'd probably want to move these together. I don't think I'd ever pull one down and not the other. So I'm going to go to my controller. I'm going to go to expression, angle, call it eyebrow rotation, back to here. I'm going to alt click on this one, drag that up to there, alt click on that one, drag it up to here. Now just so you can see, if I do this, they're going to rotate in basically opposite directions. I want them to rotate together. So all I have to do is come into one of these and just multiply it times the -1. And what that's going to do is make them both rotate together. You can see both go down, they both go up. Okay. Now as I click and drag, it doesn't update because it's in a different comp that I'm changing this. So I have to let go and then it'll update. So just be aware of that too. We're fading fast. Pupil left and right are the last two, and these ones are just going to move. So I'm just going to jump back to this and then add point control. I'm putting an underscore just because they're a little harder to read on some of these if they're bunched up. So jump back here, go to my position, alt click, there's my right. There's my left. Now I didn't remember their values. This one's 1210 by 4985. Oops. There you go. But it's no big deal because I can always just move this back in here or kind of start there and then move it over. Wrong direction. That's good. Okay. And then I have just the shield left, and then that's it. Or I did the shield. Arrow, not the shield. That's what I forgot. So I'm going to have two. One's going to be the arrow's position, and then the other one's going to be not that. Arrow's rotation. Because I may want to rotate the arrow also. So I alt click on the position. I go to the position, or make sure I remember the value 1240, 544.5. Second guessing myself there. Alt click this, go to rotation. Alright, so that should be it. That should be everything. So now from here, I mean to click that. we should have all of these different things that we can control our dude with. Okay, so I should be able to squish him down, and then move his pupils. There we go. Now this is still set to full. I'm set back to auto. It should go a little bit quicker now. Yeah. And the other thing I can do too is turn off a lot of the stuff that doesn't matter, like the soldiers don't really matter in this case. The backgrounds don't really matter. The biggest things that matter are my cave and where he's bouncing on. The sky is nice because I need to see something. Obviously Angry Bird needs to be there. Yep, there we go. So that's essentially all I need. I don't need the sky, but the sun's already there. So, all right. So now what I'm going to do is take my Angry Bird controller, and I'm going to have this thing parented to it. So my Angry Bird, we parent to the controller. Put that down there. I like to have everything together. My Angry Bird is also too short. The composition is too short, so I need to go here, go to my composition. Probably the worst video I've ever done. 20 seconds. And by worst, I just mean because I'm just not feeling any excitement in this. Oops. Alright, so that should be good enough for our little task. Alright, so first thing I want to do is just animate him moving. So I'm going to make sure his stuff is reset here. There he goes. And make sure his eyes are back to where they need to be. Yeah, you can see how quick this is going now because I have everything turned off. There we go. So I'm going to give myself, let's say, a little bit of frames here. I'm going to go to my AB controller. I'm going to go to my position and rotation. And I'm just going to keyframe both of those. I'm going to go up a little bit like this. Oh. I didn't make that 3D, that's why. Let me just delete those real quick. I was like, why isn't my Angry Bird being followed? Let's turn that on. And I'm just going to reset this to the same value as that. So 240. And what that does, it gets me roughly in the same place, and I can just shrink this down to about there. Cool. So now I go to position, rotation, make sure this is parented to that. So now it follows it. Good. Okay. So it's important to make sure that your stuff is 3D. So I'm going to do position. For rotation, I'm going to do it in the Z direction, because he'll be going this way. All right. And it's very similar to the bounce animations we talked about before. So I'm going to go up to, let's say, here. I'm going to move him over to there. Okay, so now he goes from here to there. And then, let's say about, let's see the whole frame. Here, he's going to be over there. And then he'll be over here. So I'm adding more jumps in here just because I want you to see that process. And he'll be there. And he'll be there. Okay. So now we want to see the timing of this, just to see how fast he's actually going. And what I don't like is he's always on the right side of the screen. That's really odd. So let's go here. I'm going to shove these down a little bit more. And what that's going to do is bring him more to the center of the screen because he's a little bit more delayed. right there. He's at the side of the screen again, so just push these further down. Okay, I can get a little bit more space here. Just pull that back a little bit more. Pull this one up a little bit more. Pull this one back a little bit more. Okay. And the idea here is that I'm keeping him consistent. He's not jumping to the right side of the screen then the left side of the screen. Alright, that should be good. Maybe this one will happen a little bit sooner. Nope, I don't like him going out of the screen. Okay. So now I can hit play and see he's standing there, kind of contemplating. And he jumps here, jumps there, jumps here, and then he jumps there, and he jumps there. This one could happen a little bit quicker. It's a little bit slow. There we go. Okay. So now I'm just going to come into the middle of these. Actually, I'm going to come to right about here. Essentially like 1 frame after he's jumped, or 2 frames after he's jumped, and I'm just going to set a keyframe. So I'm going to go to each one of these and just set a keyframe right where he's at. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to have basically a hold right there so he jumps in. Actually, let's get rid of those. I want to copy this keyframe. That'll be better. If I just add a new keyframe, then he's just going to keep moving. I don't want that. I want him to actually stop. Now he's going to flicker there for a second, but we'll be able to fix that. Copy this. Couple after, paste it. Copy this. Couple after, paste it. All right. So he has little flickers in there. Now the way we fix it is we have to go into our graph editor, and I need to switch this to a value graph, and you'll see if I look at the x's here, there's a little dip in each one of those. So if I click on the graph for the x, or the whole position, and I right click it and I say toggle keyframe interpolation, and I just set this to linear, you'll see how that fixes all of those. So now he's just going to go straight to it. You'll see he stops, he stops, he stops. Okay, so that's what I wanted there. Now I do want to easy ease these. So at the linear was just to fix it. So now I'm going to easy ease these. And we shouldn't have a little skip in there still. Nope, no skip. Alright, so you can see it kind of hangs out. So it's even more pronounced now that he's doing that. So now I can go to the middle of this and I'm just going to raise him up. Okay, like that. Go to the middle. Raise him up. Go to the middle. Raise him up. Middle, raise him up. The middle, and raise him up. Okay, so now we should have this like zigzag. Do. Okay, so now I need to just go hit my G key to get the pen tool, and then click and drag that out. So now we're going to have these nice little arches for him to bounce on. There we go. Alright, cool. So now he's bouncing. Alright, so now we need to add some other keyframes in here to make this look a little bit better. So one thing we would need to add is rotation. So I'm going to just zoom in so we can see this better. I'm going to rotate him, so I need to set a keyframe here. And I'm going to come up to this frame and rotate him forward a bit. Okay, that way he's kind of angled forward. So he goes like that. Now when he gets to about here, okay, right before he hits the ground, like that, he should be angled backwards. Okay, so now he's going to go like this, angle forward. He comes up, straightens up, and then comes back down. Now the same thing on this side, when he goes to the other side and starts to jump again, like right there, he should be angled forward again. And then the same thing, as he is about to hit the ground, he's angled backward. And then he hits the ground, and then he shifts forward. So you see there's just this pattern, and if you pick up on the pattern, it makes everything so much easier. So make this negative. Go to this keyframe, that's where he's starting to spin again, or to bounce again. Crank that up. And you want to do this in layers. You don't want to try to do everything at once because it just becomes confusing. So don't do everything at once. Do it all in stages. And same thing here. We get to that. Let's reset them. Actually, we'll go to negative 14 is where I was at. Over here, I'll pop them back to. Alright. So now if we rewind and look at this. Alright. Sweet. Sweet. Okay. So that's his bouncingness. Now to get more stuff to happen, that's where all of these controllers come in, because all these controllers will help us add some more realism to them. So I need to have my keyframes on so I can see where these are going to be at, so it's much easier to see. So right here I need him to start squishing down, so I'm going to keyframe both of these. And again, do it in stages, ignore the funniness that's about to happen. I'm going to go up a couple frames. I'm going to squish him down, and not crazy like I was showing in the example, but like let's say 90. And then when I squish him down 90, I need to push him out like 110. Okay, just to keep it even. So now he's going to go from here to being squished down. So if I hit U, I can see those keyframes right up here, because this will be a common thing that I'm going to be doing. And then I'm going to go up to here, and then I'm going to stretch them out. So I'm going to do the opposite. 110, 90. So you can see how he has this like little bounce and then stretch. Now when he comes up to the top of this, I want him back to normal. So this will be 100. This will be 100. Okay, so he squishes, stretches, gets to the top. And then right when he lands again, right before he lands, he's going to be stretched out again. So we're going to go back to 90 on the squish down, 110 on the out. Nope, sorry, wrong way. 110 and 90. I was right the first time. Okay, and then when he hits the ground, that's when he's going to be squished again. Now this setup here is going to repeat. Okay, so right here where he squishes down, that's where this is going to start to loop. So I'm just going to copy this, go to where I want him to squish down, which is about here, and I'm just going to paste it. So then what we'll see is he comes in and squishes down, boing, it goes up again. Now I may need to adjust some of these, so like this should happen here. That's where he's at the top. That's where he's back to circle. And then when he squishes down here, this should happen before these two. So you see these two, it should happen before that, like back here. And then if I go up a little bit more, and then I paste it again, you'll see that we get our squish again. And then it comes up. These need to be lined up with this. That one's good there. Paste it again, so it comes in, squishes. Now you can go through and set all these manually, but I find it easier just to take these little shortcuts. That should be down there, so now he's up top. Squishes down. And then at the very end, he's back to 100, 100. Okay. So now if you ignore the eyes and the shield and all that stuff when you hit play, you'll see we get this nice little bounce. Okay. Now, none of these have been easy eased also, so I can go through all of this. Right click, easy ease it. I can also grab my rotation, easy ease that. Now it should just be a little bit more sped up. Now obviously you want to do that before you do the other stuff, because otherwise it's not going to work right when we start doing the next layer. Okay, so far everything as far as this animation goes is standard. You're going to have your guy squish and stretch. You're going to have him bounce. You can have him do other stuff too, but that's the core of it. And then the last little bit is the last part that's required. Okay, so you have to have it animate at least one other thing on him. So for most of you, you'll probably just do the eyes. But I have the eyebrows in here. I have the beak, I have the shield, I have the arrow, all these other things. And then you just want to attack one of these at a time. So like my squishing is good, so I just shrink that. Then I go to my shield. And I basically just want to follow the shield around and make sure that the shield is where I want it to be. And it actually is in a good place the entire time. I could make it so that it doesn't like intersect the ground. So like right at the beginning it does, and at the right there I could have it kind of pop up a little bit. So I could do that too. So if I go to my shield and I just raise it up just a hair, like that. Okay, try to find the pattern of where these things are starting and stopping. So like right here, I could set a shield keyframe. I'll hit U so I can see my shield keyframe, which is right here. And then it comes up. So let's say at the top of this, I want the shield to maybe raise up a little bit, or go down a little bit longer. Go down a little bit more. Like that. So we can really see our guy. And then when it gets to here, we're still good, so I'll set another shield keyframe. And then right when it gets to the ground, like that, that's when it's going to pop back up. Okay, so I basically have this little pattern where it's up, it's low, it's back up. So I can just paste this. And so now we'll see a little bit more movement on the shield. Okay, so it's not just so static. We're adding a bit of secondary motion to this. And then finding where these other keyframes are and trying to line them up. So this keyframe is where this lines up here. Okay, and you can see this is obviously it's off because this one actually needs to be back a little bit. And then my next duplicate, it'll be right here. So that it pops back in. Oops, see, it's already through it, so I need to really pull this back some. And having it intersect a little bit is fine. I just don't want it to be as much as it was, because then I'm losing the chance to kind of animate this a bit further. And it may not sound like a lot, you know, just this shield, but it definitely does add something to the animation when you take the time to do these kinds of things. You know, that's why people that do this kind of stuff get paid so well, because it is a lot of this kind of stuff, a lot of looking for areas that you can tweak and modify and make it look better. Okay, so now, again, ignoring the eyes, the eyes for a minute, and let me just set this to easy ease. I didn't adjust any speeds on them. I think the speeds were fine. It was just the easy ease needs to be there. Okay. So you can see how that shield definitely adds something to the animation. Okay. Now the next thing I would do is I would go through and do the eyes. So then I can shut the you can actually close these too if it makes it easier. Like the position and rotation, I can't close those without closing like the whole thing. I have to open this up manually and then go to transforms. Yep, there you go. And then I can see the keyframes. So if it helps you to see it that way so you don't have all of them, for me, I like to see all of them. So then I'm going to skip the upper beak and lower beak. There it goes. And I can do the pupil left and right. And I can do these two at the same time. So I know that for the most part, right here, they're good. It's when it starts to squish, right? So I know my squishing is right here. I can zoom in to see that too. As an animator, you have to find patterns you can reuse over and over again. So right here it starts to squish. So I'm going to set a keyframe. I'll go up a little bit. This is where it's extreme. Then I'm going to push this down. Okay, it looks cross-eyed, so I definitely have to fix that. Okay, and then he's going to be stretched out here. I need to fix that. He's also rotated too, right? You can't answer because you're not on my computer. And just for now, let me take my eyebrow. See, I will need an eyebrow movement too because they're right there. I just need to move them out of the way. So I'll fix that. Okay. And now you can see how I have the eyes locked in. The eyes are actually, they're a bit tricky because they move. Okay, so right here, this is going to be, I hit the U key on here to bring up all my keyframes that I've animated. There we go. My pupils right and left. So these two keyframes here should be where that should be right now, because that's where they're regular. So I just paste them there. So you want to kind of look at the areas that are going to be locked in. So like the eye isn't like way over here in the corner or way up here. It's right where it is right now. And you'll see this is going to track pretty well from one spot to the other. Okay, and then when we come down here and we're stretched out again, I know that this is my stretched out one, so I can copy those and paste them. And you'll see how they jump back in. And then when he's squished, like this, like that, I know that this is my squished one. Okay, now it may not get me 100% there, but it gets me pretty close. And I actually don't think I mind that he's looking down there, because I think he would want to look down for the most part. That one looks kind of weird how he's up. There he goes. That looks better. So he looks down, and then now he's rotated. So then I'll grab this stretched out one, paste it there. So you see how my job's just a lot easier because I'm just basically taking areas that are alike and putting them together. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for the rest of this. and turn everything back on. There we go. And so by the time you're done, you should have in your scene, come on, in your scene here, you should have all of your stuff animated so that you have like a little bounce cycle inside here. A couple things you can do for extra bits of fun. Because everything is 3D layered, you could add lights to your scene. So I could add a spotlight. There we go. And this is definitely going to add a little bit more detail to the scene. Oops. It's better if I just move it like that. It's got a little bit more texture to the scene as well. If I rotate it, there we go. And if I double click this, I can make this cone angle bigger. Feather it in more maybe. Because yeah, you get this nice little look to it where everything is kind of focused on him now and not on the outside stuff. That's kind of neat too. So you could add lights. I probably need to add another one because at the end it's losing it. So I would just duplicate my light and then just move it over a lot that way. And the reason it looks so odd is because my camera is such a big camera. Like the focal length is really stretched out on it. So I definitely need to tweak that to get that lined up right. Alright, so that's one thing you could do just to add a little bit more to your scene. Another thing you can do is on the camera itself, there is a depth of field. So you could add this depth of field in here, set your focus distance, and then what that should do is kind of blur out some of the background stuff. If you want to soften it slightly, I don't know what my focus distance is. Let's put that to 100. Yeah, that's not enough. There we go. So now he's pretty crisp and clear, and then the background is just a little bit soft. Okay. Other areas you can play with is this f-stop, or the aperture. The lower the aperture, the more depth of field you're going to have. It's opposite inside of After Effects. Yep, sorry, it's the opposite in After Effects. I'm thinking of the f-stop, never mind. So the f-stop, the smaller the number, the blurrier it is. And then because of that, I may need to adjust my focus distance just to lock it onto the guy better. So now you see how he's in focus, but everything else is kind of fuzzy in the way back. And that happens because of how I've set up my scene. Now once you have this all done, I'm going to jump to my project. You can see all the stuff I have here. I have to go through and kind of clean out my stuff. So textures, these are all the textures I use, drop those in there. All my comps. Textures, layers. Get this out of here. So one of the annoying things. There we go. These are all my layers for my stuff. So I can just drop that into layers. Good. Okay. So then once you have your animation done, you have your whatever effects you want to add to this. Just for fun, let's see what the lights do if we add that with it. Take intensity up a little bit. There we I'm going to go to my comp. This is my AngryBird Spartan BG01. I'm going to drag this onto my new comp so that I get basically a flattened out version of it. And what I can do with this, obviously the light doesn't work perfectly, is I could just add some more effects, color corrections, whatever else to this. So I can go under color correction, I can go to my hue and saturation, I can desaturate this some if I need to, I can change the hue slightly if I need to, if I'm trying to colorize it. Don't do that because it'll obviously get rid of all your colors. I can enhance like the blues, so I can go to my blues, pull the saturation up on them, go to my yellows, pull the saturation up on those. So you can see how I can adjust things further and take this to a little bit more of the kind of look I'm looking for, right? Maybe go to my color correction and add curves. Where are you at, curves? Pull that down a little bit, pull this up a little bit. No, I want red, I want the whole thing. There we go. Yep, that's good there. And then I can, see it on and off, whatever. A little bit too much. The other thing you can do too is there is a there it is, Magic Bullet Looks, which is pretty sweet. And you just hit edit. And this is on the school's computer, not on your home computer. It doesn't come with After Effects. But what it allows you to do, if it works, thinking, yeah, sure. Is here's your footage, and I just go over to the side here, and that's basically like a Instagram filters, right? That's the easiest way to make it something you can see what it's doing. So it's automatically adjusting my colors, so it's doing all the stuff that's on the bottom here in order for me to get a different look inside my scene. So I may go with like Classic Neo, or not that, it's ugly. Like that one's really cool, I like that. So I just click that, and then I hit the checkbox. You can adjust stuff here too, so I can click that and then adjust the colors. I can go to curves and adjust that, and go to the vignette, which is here, and I could shrink this down or pull that up. I can adjust some of these parameters, so less vignette, more vignette, whatever. Hit OK, and there it is. Now it's right here. There's the before, there's the after, so it gives us a really sweet look. Then you can adjust the strength. So maybe I only want 25% of that look to come through, which doesn't take it all the way to that look, but still gives me just this enhanced version of it. Which again I think is a nice little touch added on top of it to make it feel a bit more complete. Okay, so once you're done with this, then what you'll do is you'll take your title bumper and you'll find your final comp, which is this one. So let me grab my title bumper real quick. Alright, so here's my title bumper from Blips. So this is assignment number 7. And I may need to obviously shrink that down to fit. Double check everything, make sure everything animates correctly. Maybe I just want this position to be nudged down to there. And because I nudged that one, I'm going to copy this one, paste it there. Alright, good. Okay, so then I'm just going to take my title and this, drag them onto my new comp. I want a single comp, AngryBird dimensions, sequence the layers, okie dokie. There's my title, there's AngryBird. I'll even nudge him, just oops, over to right there. You see I have a transition now that, you know, we just kind of like, there it is. And of course, now that we have all this stuff set, I need to move this over a touch. There we go. I need to go back to my first one here, make sure all my motion blurs are on, go to this one. Make sure I click the right buttons, turn all my motion blurs back on. I shouldn't need to continuously rasterize anything, but in case I see any pixelization, I definitely want to do that. And then in this one, if I preview with motion blur, there we go. Now we're seeing the motion blur on him. Now it's off. Okay, so that'll definitely help make this appear more realistic also. Okay, so then we just make our movie. So we go to export, add to render queue, lossless, QuickTime, 264. You could add audio to this too. You could add little blips. You could add little effects on top of all the other stuff that we've done. That's cool. And I'm going to put this inside of here, here, here. Make a new folder called movie. Sarcona _ Angry Bird in the movie folder and render. So now it's going to go through and obviously render our stuff out. You get the idea. Let's hit stop. And then for the turn in, make sure that the title Angry Bird one here, which is my my last one, I'm going to just call this final Angry Bird comp and drag this out. That way it's easier for me to find that specific comp of what the last one is, and then I can close the rest of these. Okay, so I save, I close, and it's done. Okay, so that's the finishing up of this assignment. It's pretty straightforward, you know, going through the steps, because a lot of these we've already done. It's just a matter of applying them in a different fashion. Okay, so